As the sun rises over the endless plains of Africa, a wild symphony begins in the heart of the Serengeti. More than 2 million wildebeests, zebras, and gazelles surge forward, embarking on a grueling journey across hundreds of kilometers through deadly rivers and predator-filled grasslands. This isn't just a migration, it's the pulsing heartbeat of wild Africa, where life, death, and instinct collide in a timeless dance of survival. The Great Migration. Across the Serengeti, Tanzania. As the golden African sun slowly rises above the horizon, a warm amber glow spreads across the sweeping plains of the Serengeti. The land awakens with a quiet hum, the rustle of dry grasses in the wind, the soft calls of distant birds, and the rhythmic drumming of hooves preparing to move. This is not just another day in Tanzania's wilderness. It is the beginning of one of the most magnificent natural phenomena on Earth. The Great Migration. Stretching over 30,000 square kilometers, the Serengeti ecosystem is home to a vast and intricate web of life. But once each year, that life is set in motion on an unprecedented scale. More than 2 million animals, including over 1.5 million wildebeests, 400,000 zebras, and hundreds of thousands of gazelles and antelopes, rise with the sun and begin a grueling journey spanning more than 800 kilometers. 500 miles. They march across open savannas, parched riverbeds, and predator-infested grasslands, driven by primal instinct and the unforgiving rhythm of nature's seasons. This mass movement is not leisurely. It is an urgent escape from drought, starvation, and death. As the dry season tightens its grip on the southern Serengeti, the land becomes a barren expanse, its once green pastures reduced to dust. Waterholes evaporate, crops wither. The animals must move or perish. But danger follows every step. Lion prides lie in wait at shaded outcrops, ready to launch a silent ambush. Cheetahs stalk the flanks of the herds, targeting the young and the weak. Hyenas laugh in the night, gathering in packs to chase down the exhausted. African wild tea, working with ruthless precision, drive prey into deadly traps. The predators thrive on the chaos of migration. For them, it is a season of abundance. Yet, even as blood spills and lives are lost, the herds keep pressing forward. Calves are born mid-trek, taking their first wobbly steps as danger looms nearby. Mothers nudge them up, urging them to stand, to run, to survive. The air is thick with dust, the earth trembling beneath millions of pounding hooves. A living, breathing force of nature on the move. In this age-old journey, there are no guarantees. Every migration is a gamble. But it is also a story of resilience, determination, and the raw beauty of life fighting to endure. Life and death trials at the Mara River. For many of the great migrants of the Serengeti, there comes a moment when instinct, memory, and desperation converge. At the edge of the Mara River, this is no ordinary river. It is the ultimate trial, where survival is not earned in sprints or strength, but in timing, courage, and sometimes sheer luck. to reach the lush northern grasslands of the Masai Mara in Kenya. The wildebeests, zebras, and gazelles must cross this infamous body of water. On the surface, the Mara seems tranquil, a ribbon of brown winding through the savanna. But beneath, it holds a deadly secret. Ancient sentinels, Nile crocodiles, lurk with unblinking patience. Some have survived for over half a century, growing longer than a small car. With jaws that can crush a bone like twigs. They have fasted for months, conserving every ounce of energy for this very moment. When prey comes to them, the tension is unbearable. At the banks, thousands of animals mill in restless silence. Dust rises, hooves shuffle. Mothers nuzzle their calves, as if preparing for the worst. The herd knows what awaits, even if the young do not. And then, without warning, one leaps. What follows is a tempest of chaos. The first leap triggers the flood. The herd charges down the steep, crumbling banks, a stampede of bodies crashing into the current. Some fall, some freeze, others leap blindly, crashing onto rocks or other animals. The water churns with mud and terror. Crocodiles strike with explosive force, dragging victims into death rolls beneath the surface. Hooves flail, screams pierce the din, the river runs red. It is not just the crocodiles that make this journey perilous. The sheer volume of animals turns the crossing into a gauntlet. Many drown, too weak to swim or crushed under panicked hooves. Calves are separated. Mothers turn back midstream, only to vanish. And even for those who make it to the other side, safety is not guaranteed. On the far bank, lions wait, having shadowed the herds for days. The wounded and exhausted are easy kills. Hyenas follow in packs, targeting stragglers and young. Leopards lurk in the riverine trees, ambushing the vulnerable. Even the vultures circle above, waiting for what the land will leave behind. And yet, despite the carnage, the crossing is necessary. It is not suicide. It is strategy. The northern plains offer green pastures and cooler breezes. For pregnant females, the journey ensures their young will be born in the safety of open fields, with fresh grass and fewer predators. The migration is nature's great gamble, one life risked for the promise of many more. Each year, this brutal dance plays out again. Each year, new calves take their first steps toward the river's edge. Some will make it, others won't. But this journey, the crossing of the Mara, is more than a spectacle. It is an ecological heartbeat that sustains predators, fertilizes the land, and shapes the very identity of East Africa. It is also deeply symbolic. Here, death is not the end. It is part of the equation of life. The fallen feed the crocodiles, the wounded feed the lions, and the survivors feed the next generation. This primal ritual, older than borders and nations, is not just a passage across water. It is a rite of passage, a moment that tests the limits of endurance, the bounds of instinct, and the will to live. It is the Serengeti's rawest truth, that survival comes not just from strength, but from the courage to leap into the unknown. To witness it is to feel the earth tremble. To understand it is to feel awe. For this is not just a migration, it is one of the last epic dramas of the wild, where every drop of water, every splash, death and the scavengers, nature's cycle of renewal. Once the dust settles at the Mira River, once the panic has ebbed and the waters run still, a different kind of drama begins. The crocodiles sink back into shadow. The lions retreat to digest. The wounded limp away in silence, but the fallen remain, silent testaments to the brutal cost of migration. And where there is death, life returns in another form. From the open sky they come, not with roars or howls, but with a hush of wings and a smell on the wind. The scavengers. Their arrival is not accidental, it is anticipated. Their sharp eyesight can spot a carcass from kilometers away. Within minutes, the air above the Serengeti thickens with circling shadows. The first to arrive are the Rappel's griffin vultures. Kings of altitude, capable of flying higher than any bird on Earth. Their wings stretch nearly 3 meters across, casting long, ominous silhouettes on the ground. Close behind, the lappet-faced vultures descend. Larger, more aggressive, with beaks strong enough to tear through hide and bone. They act as both butchers and gatekeepers. A pecking order soon forms. Hooded vultures, with their dainty builds and surgical precision, dart in at the edges. White-backed vultures cluster in squadrons, using teamwork to muscle through the crowd. On the periphery, the marabou storks wait in eerie silence, bald, hunched, and brooding, like undertakers preparing the final rites. And then, the feast begins. One by one, they land among the twisted bodies. Swollen, mangled, motionless. Their bare heads and necks, evolved to stay clean while feeding deep inside carcasses, plunge into flesh and marrow. It is a grisly scene. Jaws snap, sinews tear, bones crack. A single zebra can disappear in under an hour. Nothing is wasted, not even the skin, hooves, or eyeballs. What looks to human eyes like horror is in reality order. Scavengers are not just cleanup crews. They are guardians of public health in the wild. By consuming decaying flesh, they prevent outbreaks of anthrax, botulism, and other lethal diseases that would otherwise spread rapidly in such a densely populated ecosystem. Their stomachs are acidic enough to kill most pathogens. A living firewall against contagion. The competition is fierce. Fights break out. Wings flap. Beaks clash. The lappet-faced vulture rules with brute force, but even it must retreat when numbers swell and pressure mounts. Hyenas may arrive late, sniffing out the remains. Jackals dart in and out like pickpockets. Even warthogs have been known to scavenge. Death, it seems, is a shared bounty. And beneath this carnage lies a deeper beauty, renewal. The bones left behind bleach under the African sun, becoming white monuments on the Savanna. Over time, they crumble into dust, feeding the soil. Nutrients from flesh and blood seep into the land, fertilizing grass that will rise with the next rains. That grass, in turn, will nourish the very wildebeest and zebra whose kin once died here. The cycle closes. Life reclaims death. This is the unspoken law of the Serengeti. Nothing is wasted, nothing is permanent, and everything is connected. Scavengers turn tragedy into sustenance. Their grisly work sustains the web of life more powerfully than any predator's roar. In this silent, savage ritual, we are reminded that the wild is not cruel, It is complete. It does not mourn, but it remembers. And in every feathered descent, every bone stripped clean, we glimpse the enduring truth of the plains, that death feeds life. And decay is not an end, but the root of new beginnings. The hunt on the scorched plains. As the dry season deepens, the Serengeti begins to crack under the weight of the sun. The once verdant grasslands turn brittle and brown, their nutrients stripped by wind and heat. Waterholes shrink into muddy puddles. Hunger stalks every shadow. It is in this unforgiving landscape that predators thrive, and the vulnerable perish. Out on the arid plains, antelope calves, barely months old, stumble across the baked earth. Their legs are thin, their movements hesitant, their energy depleted by the heat and lack of nourishment. In these conditions, they become easy prey. Unlike lions, who rely on power and ambush, African wild dogs hunt with unmatched coordination and military-like precision. They move in tightly knit units, communicating through high-pitched yips and body language. Each member knows its role: chasers, flankers, blockers. Once a herd is targeted, the dogs launch into action, quickly identifying the slowest, the weakest, the youngest. The chase is relentless. At speeds of over 60 kilometers per hour, 37 km/h, the dogs run with endurance most predators lack. One calf, separated from its mother in the stampede, begins to lag. The moment is seized. Two dogs cut off escape routes, while another closes in from behind. There is no time for the calf to scream. The takedown is swift. Death, though brutal, is clean and efficient. To the human eye, it may seem merciless, but in the Serengeti, this is the law of balance. Predators do not kill out of cruelty. They kill because they must. And in doing so, they remove the weak, making room for the strong to survive and breed. This is natural selection in motion, raw and unapologetic. As the sun sets over the dusty plains, the wild dogs regroup, licking their bloodied muzzles, their pups emerging from the den to share in the meal. In their triumph, there is no celebration, only survival. And in the dreary wind that whistles through the tall, withered grasses, we are reminded this is nature, stripped of illusion, harsh, haunting, and magnificent. Clash of Titans, the cougar and the mother bear. In the deep, untamed wilderness of North America's northern forests, nature operates by rules both ancient and unforgiving. It's a land where the silence is deceptive. For in the hush of dawn, eyes are always watching, and shadows are always moving. A cougar, also known as a mountain lion, puma, or panther, glides silently through the forest floor. Solitary and elusive, this apex predator is a master of stealth. With a body built for agility and powerful hind legs capable of leaping over 18 feet vertically, the cougar can ambush prey with astonishing speed and force. It does not chase. It waits, calculates, and strikes with precision. Today, the cougar's amber gaze has settled on what appears to be an easy target: A grizzly bear cub, no more than a few months old, wandering briefly out of view from its mother. The cub sniffs and stumbles through the underbrush, unaware of the predator closing in. The cougar lowers itself to the forest floor, each muscle taut, whiskers twitching in anticipation. Its hunger is real. The forest has offered little in recent days. It needs this kill. But suddenly, a sound. Not a roar, but something deeper. A rumble like thunder shaking the earth. She appears, towering, furious, and unstoppable. The mother grizzly. Weighing over 400 kilograms, 880 pounds, and capable of running up to 35 miles per hour, she barrels through the forest like a freight train of rage. Her coat bristles. Her breath clouds in the cold morning air. She's not just defending her cub, she's delivering a warning to all would-be threats. In a split-second decision, the cougar abandons the hunt. It launches itself into the trees, disappearing as quickly as it arrived. This isn't cowardice. It's survival. Cougars avoid unnecessary confrontation. A serious injury could mean starvation. And against a grizzly, even the strongest cats don't stand a chance. The bear cub races back to its mother, burying its head in her thick fur. The mother grizzly lowers her muzzle, sniffing and nudging to make sure her cub is unharmed. They disappear back into the forest, side by side, vanishing into the mist. This encounter is more than a dramatic moment of wilderness drama. It's a lesson in maternal instinct, predator restraint, and the fragile line between risk and reward. In the wild, being strong isn't always about fighting. Sometimes, it's about knowing when to walk away and live another day. Nature's architects, the North American beavers. They don't roar. They don't stalk prey. They don't make headlines for dramatic hunts. But the North American beaver, Castor canadensis, is one of the most influential and transformative species in the entire animal kingdom. Their secret weapon? A pair of oversized, ever-growing ensealers and an unwavering commitment to construction. Beavers are nature's engineers, not by choice, but by instinct. These semi-aquatic rodents, typically weighing between 16 to 30 kilograms, 35 to 65 pounds, are equipped with large flat tails for steering in water and powerful webbed hind feet for swimming. Their most iconic skill? Building dams. And they're damn good at it. Using only logs, mud, branches, and stones, beavers dam up rivers to create ponds. Calm, deep, and safe sanctuaries from predators like wolves, coyotes, and bears. Within these ponds, they construct lodges, dome-shaped homes with underwater entrances that stay warm through even the harshest winters. Their construction isn't random. It's architectural mastery, often adjusting for water pressure, current strength, and seasonal flow. But beavers don't just build homes. They build ecosystems. Behind a single dam, entire wetlands blossom. Frogs breed in the still waters. Ducks and herons nest among the reeds. Fish flourish in oxygen's rich pools. Even moose and deer come to drink. Beavers' dams slow down streams, preventing erosion and helping to recharge groundwater. In times of drought, their ponds act as crucial water reservoirs, protecting the land from drying out completely. Their impact is so profound that scientists call beavers a keystone species, animals whose presence has a disproportionate effect on their environment. Remove them, and the landscape collapses. Keep them, and the entire system thrives. And yet, it wasn't always this way. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, beavers were nearly wiped out across North America. Hunted aggressively for their fur, used in hats and coats, their numbers dropped from tens of millions to near extinction. Rivers ran wild again, wetlands vanished, and entire ecosystems dried up. Thanks to dedicated conservation efforts, beavers have made a remarkable comeback. In Canada, the United States, and parts of Europe where they've been reintroduced, they are now being used as natural climate fighters, restoring wetlands, preventing wildfires, and fighting drought with nothing but their instincts and strong teeth. They are proof that not all heroes are loud or flashy. Some build quietly and tirelessly, transforming chaos into balance, destruction into renewal. The beaver doesn't conquer nature, it reshapes it for life to flourish. Ecological disaster in motion, the Asian carp invasion. What began as a well-intentioned solution has turned into one of the worst environmental nightmares in modern American history. In the 1970s, a group of foreign fish, collectively referred to as Asian carp, were introduced into the southern United States to help control algae and clean aquaculture ponds. But nature rarely follows human plans. Floods swept through containment areas, and the carp escaped. And once free, they didn't just survive, they thrived. These voracious invaders, including bighead, silver, grass, and black carp, quickly spread through the Mississippi River basin. With explosive reproductive rates, some species laying over 1 million eggs per year, and a bottomless appetite for plankton, they rapidly outcompeted native fish for food. Their dominance began to decimate entire aquatic food chains, leaving rivers and lakes biologically impoverished. But the ecological damage is only part of the story. Silver carp, in particular, have developed a bizarre and dangerous behavior. When startled by the sound of boat motors, they leap several feet out of the water in frantic bursts. These fish, which can weigh up to 40 pounds, have collided with boaters, causing serious injuries, broken bones, concussions, and even knocking people unconscious. For recreational water users across the Midwest, boating has become a hazardous activity. A river suddenly erupting in flying fish. The economic impact has been staggering. Asian carp threaten the $7 billion Great Lakes fishing industry, clog water intake systems, and destroy aquatic vegetation vital for ducks, amphibians, and native fish nurseries. Federal and state governments have already spent hundreds of millions of dollars on barriers, monitoring, and mitigation, but the carp continue to advance, inching ever closer to the Great Lakes through canals and tributaries. And the greatest fear? If they establish breeding populations in the Great Lakes, it could trigger an ecological collapse, unlike anything the region has seen. These waters are home to hundreds of species, both native and commercial. The loss would ripple beyond biodiversity. It would threaten food security, tourism, and livelihoods across multiple states and provinces. The Asian carp are a living warning. Not every invader arrives with claws and fangs. Some come silently, with no natural predators, and change the rules of life itself. Ocean Travelers, the epic journey of the gray whale. Far from the chaos of river invasions and ecosystem collapse, a more ancient and graceful migration is underway. One that has been unfolding for millennia beneath the waves of the Pacific. Meet the gray whale, or Escherichthys robustus, a creature not defined by ferocity or conquest, but by endurance. Each year, these gentle giants undertake the longest known migration of any mammal on Earth. Traveling more than 20,000 kilometers, over 12,000 miles, round trip from the icy waters of the Arctic to the sun-soaked lagoons of Baja California, Mexico, and back again. What drives such an immense voyage? Life. In summer, the Arctic offers a feeding paradise. Gray whales gorge themselves on small crustaceans like amphipods, stirring up the seabed with their powerful jaws and filtering their hitch through baleen plates. But as winter approaches and the ice creeps southward, they begin their journey to warmer waters. Not to feed, but to give birth and raise their calves in the safety of shallow bays, far from orcapods and freezing temperatures. For months, they glide along coastlines, past rocky shores and towering kelp forests. And what's even more remarkable, they do it without eating. Adult gray whales spend during most of the journey, relying entirely on the thick layers of blubber accumulated during the summer. But this voyage is not without danger. Along the way, they face threats both natural and man-made. Ship strikes, entanglement in fishing gear, and noise pollution that disrupts their navigation and communication. Orcas may target the young. And in recent years, climate change has begun to shift ice patterns and krill abundance in their Arctic feeding grounds, making survival more uncertain than ever. And yet, they press on. Gray whales are among the few species that have survived the onslaught of commercial whaling. Rebounding from the brink of extinction in the 20th century, their comeback is a testament to the power of conservation, but also to the strength of their own biology, slow, steady, and enduring. They do not hunt. They do not fight. But in their journey, year after year, across vast and perilous oceans, they embody something rare and profound: resilience. The gray whale is not just a traveler, it is a symbol of oceanic perseverance. A relic of the ancient seas that continues to swim, undeterred, in defiance of extinction. It reminds us that survival is not always about power. Sometimes, it's about the quiet, patient will to endure across the ages. Masters of the Night, the secret life of the Serengeti's leopards. When the sun dips below the horizon, and the last golden rays dissolve into twilight, a transformation occurs across the plains of the Serengeti. While wildebeest herds settle and lions begin their night roars, Another predator slips into motion, silent, calculated, unseen. This is the leopard's time, a master of stealth, an assassin cloaked in rosettes. Unlike lions that hunt in prides or cheetahs that chase in daylight bursts, leopards embrace solitude and darkness. Their solitary nature isn't a flaw. It's a strategy. With eyes specially adapted for low light and paw pads that muffle sound, leopards blend into the night like shadows made flesh. Their rosette-patterned coats are not just beautiful, they are camouflage perfected by evolution, allowing them to vanish into tall grasses, tree canopies, and rocky outcrops. But it is their patience that defines them. A leopard can crouch for hours, unmoving, observing prey from a distance. And then, a silent step, a calculated pause, a swift ambush. Their strike is sudden, their bite precise. Targeting the throat or spine, they end the hunt in seconds, often before the prey can cry out. These apex ambushers are also among the Serengeti's strongest pound-for-pound hunters. A fully grown male can haul a carcass weighing over 100 kg into the high branches of an acacia tree. A feat that keeps the spoils safe from hyenas, jackals, and even lions. There, perched above the chaos of the savanna, the leopard dines alone under the stars. Their menu is as diverse as the landscape. They hunt gazelles, hares, monkeys, lizards, birds, and even fish along riverbanks. Opportunistic and adaptable, they can kill in open grasslands, dense thickets, rocky kopjes, or riverside forests. They thrive where others falter. But leopards are more than hunters. They are secretive nurturers. Mothers hide their cubs in caves, hollow trees, or dense undergrowth, moving them frequently to avoid predators. Cubs don't roar or cry loudly. Silence is survival. Only the softest purrs or gentle nuzzles mark their bond. Males, though territorial and often aggressive, may sometimes tolerate older cubs, especially if they suspect paternity. A rare exception in the big cat world. Even when unseen, leopards shape the Serengeti's ecosystem. By preying on smaller herbivores, they regulate population balance. By dragging kills into trees, they deny scavengers easy meals, forcing them to scavenge elsewhere. They are silent influencers, maintaining equilibrium through shadows and silence. To walk the Serengeti at night is to enter their domain. You may not see them, but they see you. From a tree limb high above, from a thicket just beyond your torchlight, a pair of golden eyes may be watching. You won't hear a sound. No rustle, no growl, just presence. In a land famous for thunderous migrations and roaring prides, the leopard is a ghost, solitary, silent, and supreme, a hunter of the night, a master of the unseen. Winged sentinels. The birds of the endless sky. Above the dust clouds kicked up by galloping hooves and the primal roars echoing across the plains, another world moves in silent choreography. Delicate, colorful, and often overlooked. These are the winged sentinels of the Serengeti. Birds of every shape, song, and color, turning the sky into a living mosaic of motion and melody. From the golden dawn to the velvet dusk, Over 500 species of birds animate this vast ecosystem. Their presence is constant, yet ever-changing, like notes in an endless symphony. Some soar with regal grace, others flutter like sparks above the grass. Together, they fulfill 1,000 quiet duties that keep the Serengeti in balance. Crowned cranes, icons of elegance, tiptoe through wetland shallows, their golden head crests glowing like crowns kissed by sunlight. They dance with elaborate steps and bows, bonding for life in rituals older than memory. Not far off, the secretary bird patrols with military precision. Standing over 4 feet tall, it hunts with fierce efficiency, stomping venomous snakes and rodents with powerful talon-like feet. A predator dressed in feathers and fire. In bursts of color, the lilac-breasted roller electrifies the air. No camera could do it justice. With a kaleidoscope of turquoise, green, and purple, it twists and tumbles mid-air in dazzling courtship displays, a ballerina of the wind. Then come the bee-eaters, carmine or European, tracing circles above insect swarms, their slender wings slicing through the sky in joyful pursuit. But beauty here is functional. Birds are not just ornaments, they are critical players. Oxpeckers perch atop giraffes, zebras, and buffaloes, feeding on ticks and parasites while sounding alarm calls when danger lurks. This mutualistic alliance has evolved over millennia. Helmeted guinea fowl, with their bald blue heads and speckled black plumage, parade through the bush in noisy battalions, fleshing out insects and alerting other animals to unseen threats. As daylight fades, the cast of the sky changes. The haunting hoots of African scops owls pierce the stillness. Their calls, short and rhythmic, guide them through the dark as they hunt moths, beetles, and small rodents. Nightjars emerge like whispers, gliding close to the ground in ghostly silence, their camouflaged feathers almost indistinguishable from the earth. Birds are also Serengeti's hidden engineers. Weaver birds craft elaborate hanging nests that sway like lanterns from acacia trees. Hornbills help disperse seeds, reshaping the landscape with every fruit they consume. Sunbirds dart among flowers, pollinating as they sip nectar, keeping the cycle of life blooming through dry and wet seasons alike. And when the seasons shift and the great rains arrive, so too do the travelers from distant lands. Migratory storks, falcons, swallows, and warblers descend upon the Serengeti from as far away as Scandinavia, Siberia, and the Middle East. They ride invisible currents, a global pulse that connects continents through feathers. The Serengeti is not just a destination, it's a waypoint on a planet-wide journey. These birds, whether perched on a thorny branch, diving into the savanna wind, or soaring thousands of miles unseen, embody something rare: resilience wrapped in grace. They are messengers of change, guardians of the skies, and vital threads in the web of life. In the great Serengeti, where lions rule the ground and wildebeests roam the plains, it is the birds who watch from above. Ever present, ever vigilant, the skybound custodians of a wild and wondrous world. Giants of grace. the elephants of the Savanna. In a land ruled by the fast and the fierce, one creature defies the frenzy. The African elephant, the largest land animal on Earth, walks not with haste, but with dignity. Towering up to 4 meters and tipping the scales at over 6,000 kilograms, these monumental beings move with an elegance that seems at odds with their size. In the Serengeti, they are more than animals. They are living monuments to memory, wisdom, and harmony. Unlike the migratory herds of wildebeest and zebra, elephants chart their own course. Their migration is not dictated by instinct alone, but by memory, deep, intergenerational memory passed down by matriarchs. These elder females lead their families through shifting seasons and changing landscapes, recalling the location of hidden waterholes, ancient feeding grounds, and safe birthing sites, even after years of drought or fire. Their social bonds are intricate and deeply emotional. Families consist of mothers, daughters, aunts, and calves. A matrilineal clan where calves are raised communally. A newborn is greeted with trumpet calls and gentle trunk touches from the entire group. Calves are taught how to use their trunks, navigate terrain, and interpret the moods of other animals. When an elephant dies, the herd mourns. They return to the bones, caress them with their trunks, and stand in silence. No other land animal shows such ritualistic grief. Their empathy is not limited to their kind. Elephants have been known to assist injured antelope, rescue young rhinos stuck in mud, and even show curiosity toward humans in distress. They communicate through low-frequency rumbles that travel dozens of kilometers, through tactile touch, and even seismic vibrations sensed in their feet, creating a silent language that binds them across space and time. And while they appear peaceful, elephants are ecosystem architects. They tear down trees and uproot shrubs. A destructive act, yes, but one with purpose. By clearing dense vegetation, they make room for grasses that feed herbivores. Their dung is a fertilizer rich in seeds, shaping entire plant communities. Even their footprints become tiny ecosystems, collecting rainwater, giving refuge to frogs, insects, and thirsty birds. But these gentle giants walk a dangerous path. The ivory trade has slaughtered hundreds of thousands. Expanding agriculture and settlements fragment their migration corridors. Human-wildlife conflict, fences, farms, and fear often ends with tragedy. A single act of aggression from an elephant defending its calf can provoke retaliation. And yet, it is not aggression that defines them, but restraint. In the protected realms of the Serengeti, elephants are still free to roam. Conservation efforts, from GPS tracking and anti-poaching patrols to cross-border migration corridors, are giving them space and safety. Local communities are being included in these efforts. Recognizing that coexistence is not just possible but vital for the survival of both species. To witness an elephant up close is to feel the ground tremble with life. Not violence, but weight. Not speed, but purpose. Their eyes, framed by weathered skin and long lashes, reflect something deep. Ancient wisdom, quiet resilience, and the enduring pulse of the earth. In a world obsessed with speed, The elephant reminds us of another kind of power, the power of patience, of presence, and of grace that does not need to roar to be heard. The builders below, dung beetles, and their unseen empire. In the Serengeti, grandeur often comes with a musun or a roar. But shift your gaze to the ground, and you'll discover a humbler kingdom. One built not with muscle or might, but with unrelenting purpose. Welcome to the world of the dung beetle, the silent engineer of the Savanna. Clad in metallic armor and rarely larger than a bottle cap, dung beetles are unsung heroes of the ecosystem. What they lack in size, they make up for in resolve. Their mission is deceptively simple yet vital: to find fresh dung, shape it, move it, and bury it. To them, this waste is more than filth. It is fuel, food, and future. Dung beetles come in many forms: rollers, tunnelers, and dwellers. Rollers craft near-perfect spheres and push them backwards across the terrain with remarkable dexterity, often facing predators, uneven ground, or fierce competition from rivals. Tunnelers dig deep beneath the droppings, creating underground chambers where dung is stored and eggs are laid. Dwellers skip the transport altogether and nest directly within the dung heap. Each strategy evolved to exploit a different ecological niche, minimizing conflict and maximizing impact. Their actions trigger a chain of benefits. By burying dung, these beetles enrich the soil with organic matter, boost nitrogen content, and aid seed dispersal, especially for seeds that have passed through herbivores. This process not only enhances plant growth, but also keeps parasite populations in check, reducing the spread of diseases among animals. In areas where dung beetles thrive, the difference in pasture health is visible from space. And there's more. Dung left on the surface releases methane, a potent greenhouse gas, but when dung beetles bury it, they reduce these emissions significantly, making them unexpected allies in the fight against climate change. In a time of ecological crisis, even these tiny scavengers hold part of the solution. Perhaps most remarkable is their sense of direction. Some species of dung beetle can navigate using polarized light from the moon. Others, astonishingly, use the Milky Way itself as a compass, becoming the only known insects to orient themselves using the galaxy. Scientists discovered this by placing beetles in a planetarium and watching their movements change depending on the star field overhead. Even in darkness, they move with celestial purpose. Their lives, though short, are tireless. Fights between males over dung balls can be fierce, complete with headbutting duels and rolling races. Females often choose mates based on the size and quality of the dung ball presented, a sign of strength, resourcefulness, and future parental success. And while they may toil in silence, their influence is profound. Without them, the plains would drown in waste, parasites would thrive, grazing lands would degrade. The migration itself, with its millions of hooves, would collapse under the weight of its own byproducts. So next time you hear the thunder of wildebeest or a roar of a lion, spare a thought for the creatures beneath your boots. They do not rule by fear or dominance. They rule by necessity. In a world that often overlooks the small, the dung beetle stands as proof that greatness is not measured by volume or height, but by impact. They do not chase glory. They build it. One dung ball at a time. In the vast, untamed wilderness of the Serengeti, every moment is a battle and a miracle. From thundering migrations to deadly river crossings, from silent hunters in the dark to tiny beetles reshaping the earth, nature reveals its fiercest truths in the most breathtaking ways. But this is only one chapter in a much bigger story, one that spans land, sky, and water. If you've been moved by the drama, power, and beauty of this journey, don't stop here. Follow us for more epic encounters, hidden worlds, and raw stories from the heart of the wild.